Welcome to another pedal review. Today we are looking at the Pettyjohn Chime pedal. Now the Chime is basically an EL84 style overdrive, and unlike most overdrives you're probably used to, its main aim isn't to give you plenty of gain. It really just emulates the compression and characteristics of an EL84 combo as you get into that sweet spot. So while it does have different clipping options, don't think of it as a distortion pedal, but think it as something that changes the character of your amp to be more like a different amp. So let's plug it in and I'll show you through what it sounds like. So today I'm going to be using my Rickenbacker as the main guitar. Now I might play through the Telly and to the Les Paul as well just to show it, but I thought seeming it's an EL84 style amp, we'll use the Rickenbacker. Now I'm running through my Ceriatone on the clean channel. Now this is an EL34 based amp, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of characteristics we get from the EL84s. Now we've also got this, my Frenzel head here, which I'm running straight into the door, and I've got some AC30 IRs in there. So I'm running this as a second amp just to show a kind of different sound. So we'll run it through both the boost and normal channels of the Frenzel at some point, just to really show what it can sound like through those AC30 cabs and does it make a difference. We'll also take it through a few other different systems as I'll show, including seeing if it will warm up some kind of Fender style amp emulation in Cubase as well. So basically what we want to see there is it would add some warmth back to what the digital emulation is missing. But mainly we're just going to be using it with the Ceriatone. So as I said, using the Rickenbacker straight in. So let's just start with my clean tone. So I've got the volume fairly quiet there and brilliance all the way at the top. Now you might see in the other screen we have a decibel meter here. This will come in handy later when I'm going to show you how this can kind of emulate a louder tone with a quieter tone. So first, the clean sound. That's basically a basic tone. That is probably my favorite tone for kind of emulating that jangly clean. Now we'll go through the controls. I'll kind of explain what each of them do and how the pedal overall works. So of course we have the level control, which is your most obvious. It controls the level. Like I said, got this decibel meter here, so I'm going to try and match the level with that, so we're not getting more volume in the amp, which we think is what is causing the tone. We're actually trying to match it. We've got a drive control. Now this does control overdrive, but as I said, it is more of a color tool. So this is more the compression and those kind of output tube characteristics when you're not kind of pushing them too hard. But you know, getting that sweet spot. You have a tone control. Now this tone control is basically a tilt control. So as you turn it down, you're boosting bass and losing treble, and as you turn it up, you're doing the opposite. You're boosting treble and losing bass. Then we have this boost control. Now this boost control does boost the drive of the sound, but it also kind of emulates the top boost circuit in something like an AC30. Is that kind of has its own EQ to it that kind of adds something different in the mids and adds a different tonal shape. Then we've got a low cut, which has 3 positions, and a clip function. Now in the middle of the clip, it is LED clipping, and this is kind of the more natural, what you mainly use the pedal for. In the up position, you have a hybrid of LED clipping and Germanium, and in the lower position, you have just got Germanium. Now to me, the Germanium sounds a little bit more fizzy, so there's kind of fizzy fuzzy characteristic to it, more of a drive sound, and the combination kind of sounds like those two sounds in parallel. So I tend to use the LED clipping, but we can get other sounds with the other clipping modules. So that was that setting here. What I'm going to do is turn everything down, keep this in the middle, so turn the boost down, and show you kind of how subtle the drive is. So back to my clean position, we'll just do some kind of big chords. So while it's quite subtly, you can't really hear distortion there. It is affecting the mid frequencies. It's kind of thinning it out in the lower mids and adding a little bit more high mid kind of voxiness. So as we turn the drive up, you do get a bit of volume increase and a bit more of that compression. So as you can hear, when I dig in, you get a little bit more crunch. You obviously get more compression, more kind of thing, and you started to get a little bit of clipping on the heavy end of the notes, but it isn't really like a distortion pedal. Now a bit more change comes in when you start using the boost control. So I'm going to wind back the drive back to here, which is kind of the setting I like, and show you how the boost control kind of adds a sound to it and starts getting more clipping. boost and the drive, you get different flavors. Now I'm just going to go through the tone control. Like I said, it's a basic tilt control, so you really just try and do it to match the guitar and amp. Now if you use the tone control with the low cut, you can get kind of different sounds by boosting the bass with it down and then cutting the bass with the low cut. So of course you can get, some classic 60s sounds with using different features. So a bit more high-end, a bit driving there. Now just to the clip function. So basically what I'll do is I'll put everything at 12 o'clock except for the level. We'll go through the clip. And the Germanium clipping does change the volume, so we're going to match that with the level control. So this is the standard clipping. So you can hear that you get that fizz plus that kind of fatness of the clipping. Now obviously you might want to bring the tone down a bit to compensate. And how does it go all the way up on the Germanium clipping? So that's kind of the basic sounds of that on the clean channel. But how does it go as a booster of the dirty channel? I'm going to switch over to the gain channel on here. Just more of a crunch sound. And then I might change guitars to the Telecaster. Actually, the Les Paul. I'll change guitars to the Les Paul. And we'll hear what this sounds like as a booster. Okay, so now I have my Les Paul custom copy. So basically, got it on the gain channel, fairly low gain, and this is kind of what the tone we've got. So I'm just going to give it a bit of edge, a little bit of a gain boost, and hear what that sounds like. Bit more level, bit more drive. Next I'm going to use a low cut to kind of really tighten it up. So we'll put it on that center position, back to the lead clipping. Leave this with a bit of a low there, drive, and then at 12 o'clock. And I'm just going to add a little bit more gain on here. So that's it through the drive channel. So basically it can be used as an overdrive. It wouldn't be my first choice, but it does have kind of qualities that let you boost it and it doesn't sound too bad. So we're going to go back to the clean channel now. And we're going to use it in a different function, pretending it is part of your preamp. Now this would be if you left it on all the time. This is your sound, you know, that's your clean sound. You don't want to be turning it off when you turn on your gain pedals. It is basically part of your amp sound. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set it up first with the Les Paul, then we might go back to the Rickenbacker to show it as well. I'm going to set it up similar to how I had it before, maybe just a little bit brighter. As a kind of clean tone I would use, and I'm going to bring in a couple of pedals and kind of show how it reacts to pedals and switch between the chime on and chime off with the pedals to kind of see the differences. So this is the clean sound with the Les Paul. So you can hear there's a huge difference in that mid and that low mid, and kind of, it's more jangly. Next I'm going to put on this Silver. Now I have a review of this out, and if I haven't got it out yet, it is coming soon. This is part of my new series, Cheap Pedal Tuesdays, where I look at really, really cheap pedals. Now this is only 32 Australian, and it's basically kind of a Timmy inspired drive pedal for relatively low price. So this is, we'll go back to this sound and then I'll put the pedal on. This is without the chime. Up and mids change and that compression come into effect. Now, you might not be seeing it in the camera, but I also have this retrosonic distortion, which is basically a rat clone with different clipping options. So I'm going to dial in a sound I really like, which is pretty much everything 12 o'clock. And we'll do it with the Les Paul. So the same chime settings. I'm going to do the retrosonic just through the clean and then put the chime on. Then we'll do the same with the Rickenbacker. Now I'm going to switch back to the Rickenbacker and kind of go through the same thing again. Okay, I've got the Rickenbacker again. And this is with the retrosonic first, and then we'll add the chime pedaling. Now I'm going to go back to the Silver and kind of get a more of a 60s raunchy kind of tone. So I'm going to turn the boost back up on here. So basically, clean tone, Silver by itself, a bit more volume there, and then with the chime. So you can really hear the boxiness that the Pettyjohn chime kind of adds there, whether you like that or not. It's part of that kind of EL84 character. Now we're going to switch to an EL84 amp. Now, like I said, the Frenzel is running through some cab impulses. So we're going to plug that all in and just mess around with a couple of tones on the chime, just seeing how it works with a different amp if it's actually still useful when you're running into an LS84 amp. Okay, so we're running through the normal gain channel. Now, I've clipped the bright cap in this amp, so the gain channel isn't as bright as it comes stock. But this is basically the clean channel from a hotbox preamp through kind of the AC15 style cathode biased EL84 section. So what I'm kind of going to do with the chime is bring a bit more brightness and bring a bit more kind of jangle to the tone. So this is it, just the normal channel. Bring the volume down a bit. Next, I'm going to go to the boost channel, which I often use as the clean channel. And we're going to kind of put a clean sound on here and then do the same with the chime. Next, we're really just going to push it. I'm going to switch to the Germanium and clipping. We're just going to run it kind of guns out, level up, get a real kind of dirty fuzz out tone. Okay, so now I'm running the rig right into my door where I'm using S-Gear set on a Fender clean kind of tone. So basically I'm going to use this to try and get more of that AC30 EL84 tone through an emulation and see if it kind of adds a bit of warmth to digital emulation. So I'm just going to switch back and forth between the two different tones, basically bypassed with the pedal on, and play a few different things just to really show what it can sound like. So as you can hear, it does actually add something to that digital sound. It kind of does add warmth and stuff depending on where the EQ is. Now a lot of this is EQ warmth and compression, but you know, it can kind of warm up that sound. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare what that would sound like compared to a completely different amp, but definitely has its uses, even if recording just into the DAW. So that has been the Pettyjohn's Chime. Now, something I haven't mentioned about the pedal is its internal headroom. So I'm running this at 9 volts. It has a doubler circuit in it. So me running at 9 volts gives you 18 volts internally, but you can run it up to 18 volts on the input, which gives you 36 volts of internal headroom. Now what does this mean? Well, basically, as far as headroom goes, it's how loud you can give an input signal before it distorts. Now of course, parts of this are intended to distort. The LEDs or germanium, depending on the clipping, is intended to distort, and I'm sure there's other components in there that might be. But there are certain components like op amps and stuff that you might not want distorting in a subtle pedal like this. And so having an internal headroom means everything is running at a much higher operating voltage. It does change the slew rate of a few things, and basically it gives you a more amp-like response because amps run with extremely high voltages and internal headroom. If you've ever used a starved tube device, which is basically a tube running really low voltage, it clips very differently to something at a high voltage, and a lot of that is to do with the voltage and a few other things. Of course, this doesn't have valves in it, so that's not 100% applicable. But knowing that you have the headroom to use hotter humbuckers and such without getting nasty clipping and compression you don't want is a great feature. So as you can hear, it is a very useful pedal. Now it might not be for everyone because you may not actually like this bass tone. Then they make a few other pedals with a few different other flavors, but this is the more kind of EL84 chimey characteristic. But if you want to add that to your tone, if you're playing a Fender or a Marshall and you just want to add that kind of vibe without going all the way down the route of playing an AC30, because this isn't really an AC30 clone, I'll say that off the bat. It's not intended to be an exact clone of the AC30. It is more kind of in that vibe. And also if you want to put it on your pedal board so that when you do turn up at a gig and it's, you know, not an amp that is in the same kind of sound as your normal rig, then you can use this to kind of get a bit closer, a bit more uniform. You kind of know what your pedals sound like through it, and you've kind of got your pedals set for this pedal sound as like a foundation. And then like I showed you, you can also use it as a booster, you can use it for a few different tones. So it's a very worthy pedal. It isn't cheap, it's on the higher end boutique market, but as you can see, it's very well built in this solid kind of case. And you know, to get this kind of subtle, more tone shaping things, you do end up spending a bit more money because they're a bit more subtle, and you know, every different component makes a difference in that sound, noise floor, and all those factors. So thanks for watching again. It has been a long video because I really wanted to go through, you know, put this pedal through its paces, go through some different sounds, different setups, different guitars, and really show what it could sound like. I am going to do a few videos maybe comparing it between what it sounds like through the Ceriatone versus the frontal, a few other kind of little things like that, just you know, in different videos, not so much to show off the pedal, but to show, you know, pedal sculpting versus kind of amp sculpting kind of deal. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've got a few other videos coming out. If you like the sound of the Retrosonic Distortion, go check out that video. I go through that in more depth. Should have a video of the Mosky MM Silver as well, if that is not already out. So check that out as part of the new series, like I said, and I've got a few other cheap pedals on there. So thanks again, and keep on rocking.